Hello and welcome to the conversation. Today we have Kayathiri Supramaniam. She works for a large tour operator as a corporate social responsibility manager, a Tamil activist, have done quite a lot of work in human rights, law, work in Tamil community, art, culture, heritage. So let's welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
So I would like to introduce you with many aspects or many stuff that you have done. So I just limited with few. So hope we can explore all the aspects. So let's actually start with the profession, because you are a corporate social responsibility manager. Now, what is it? What it entails? And just explain about it.
So it can mean completely different things for different organisations and different industries. For what I do, it would cover predominantly the environmental issues, looking at ethical tourism, also charity responsibility, volunteering, and also making sure that the supply chain is fairly and the supply chain is looked after the way it should be, and that the personnel that we use are paid a fair wage, and that everything's responsible along the way.
So it's basically you are making sure that no one is exploited or nothing is actually done in an unreasonable way. Yes. Is that correct?
That's it. So whether it be the environment, whether it be the locals, whether it be resources that they have, to make sure that we're doing the best we can. Obviously, tourism is a very resource high industry. It's one that uses lots and lots of different materials. So we have to do our best to make sure we're protecting them.
So let's just go from the beginning, just to understand, how did you actually got there? Because interesting to know that you have done 2 degrees, actually 3 courses, 2 degrees. So you started with business management, and then you did something in hospitality. Then you completed a law degree in Brunel. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, you actually did your degree in Surrey, University of Surrey, and then in Brunel. Then you did a solicitor practicing as well.
At College of Law, yeah.
So who chose this, you or your parents, and how did you choose your profession?
Bit of a strange one. I thought I wanted to do business. From small, the only thing I ever thought my career was, I wanted a table and a chair, a computer and a phone. So I wanted a career where I got to sit in front of that, and thought that business management would answer that. After doing that for a while, I realised that it wasn't quite pushing the buttons that I wanted. Completed international hospitality and tourism management, which is business, but it's in the international global arena. It's a lot more about cultural relationships. After finishing that, I knew I wanted to study more, but I didn't know what. Through process of elimination and people's suggestions, I ended up doing law, purely because it was convenient, and I managed to pass the exam to get into it. That was the only reason I ended up in law.
And you completed all the way, right?
Yes.
And the solicitor practice as well. So you completed the solicitor practice. Is it anyone inspired in your family, or is it family influence, or is it just you?
It was my brother that suggested that we needed a lawyer in the family, and because none of us are lawyers, it would be good to have one.
So that's a good process of elimination and process of advice.
I mean, most people, most Tamil families expect that you would go into law, or you would go to be a doctor. That's pretty much most...
Or engineering.
Engineering. They're one of the few careers. And after studying tourism, I knew I wanted to do more. So it was something that I could use in my first degree. It wouldn't be completely wasted. So rather than retraining and doing something completely different, at least I could support what I've done, and it makes you more valuable in the industry.
So during your university time, I hear that you were very active in the community in terms of cultural aspects, cultural work. You're from Lewisham, or you're from Dartford and Lewisham, isn't it? Quite well known around that area. So you participating in quite a lot of cultural functions and so on. Also student activism. So do you want to talk about what you did during those periods?
As far back as I can remember, I've been very, very involved in community events, whether that be Bharatanatyam functions, I was the one that danced on the stage when the Sivan Koil Mandapam was first opened. Navaratri, doing Thevadams in Koil, Veena, Sangeetham, you name it, all of it I was very involved in. Also Tamil Sports Day then, helping organising it, getting people together and coming together. And then in 2002 I also started a project called Vasandam. And that was purely everyone that was involved was a student under the age of 18. So everything from ticket design, ticket selling, what acts would happen, the host, presentations, collecting sponsorship, everything. It was to prove that the youth, the Tamil youth, were capable of doing things. And actually I came against a lot of negative feelings towards that. A lot of people were saying, you shouldn't be doing that, you need people involved in this, how can you be doing this? And it's wrong for the youth to take this kind of lead on projects. And I came against a lot, but I'm very lucky that I had a real supportive father there that said, you don't need anyone's permission to do this, you will succeed in this, and go ahead with the project. And it was really successful. We did it for a couple of years, and we supported an orphanage in Jaffna. And I ran that for 3 years before I moved to university. Just the distance made it difficult to carry on there, but I was contacted by younger students at that time who said, can I carry this on? Is this something that we can take forward? Because it was a way of bringing the community together. It was a way of getting people interested in the Tamil arts, and a way that people could meet other Tamils.
So it's also showing that you can actually deliver to that high standard, and also the what it takes to deliver it. So so after that, so which path did you actually choose? Because law one hand, tourism. So who was your early employers like? So
this is making me think now. I first worked for Virgin Atlantic when I graduated, and I did ticketing for a few years and support. So that would be everything from really upset passengers, paying out compensation, flight delays, managing rebookings, pretty much every upset passenger, and collecting as much money out of them as possible. After that, I thought law was the degree, the area I wanted to go in, and I got a contract with Hewlett-Packard, and I worked in their law department there, but absolutely hated it. I realised at that time law on its own wasn't the area for me. Law is a very kind of heavy, full-on subject, and I think, my personal opinion, this is nothing against other people that do law, but I believe that to be a really, really good lawyer, you have to give 100% all the time, day and night, and it is a full-on career.
So how did you actually get involved in human rights work?
When I finished my contract at Hewlett-Packard, I was looking for another job, and I was in quite a bad headspace, thinking, what do I do next and where do I go? And I've wasted a lot of time studying, and I've spent a lot of years in this, and where am I going and what's the next step?
So sorry to interrupt, is it part of that you have a dual choice and then you can't make a choice, or is it just a normal dilemma where to go next?
I think a bit of both. I think because, I'm very, very lucky that my parents have been so supportive to say, do what you feel is right. But when you have that many options, you don't know, and that young, you don't know what's the right choice. And my true belief of my life for where I've come today is to say, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to say, this isn't the right path for me, let's try again. What can I do that would encompass everything I've experienced so far and take me the next step forward? So at that point it was, well, I've got law, I've got tourism, I've got business, but now what do I do that uses all of them and brings them all together? And at that time I had a friend who introduced me to British Tamil Forums, and I just went along for one session and actually found it really interesting, something I'd never thought about and I haven't been exposed to. I was born here. I don't have a a lot of family back in Sri Lanka. I wasn't directly affected by the 2009 riots. My parents came here over 40 years ago. It's not something that I was directly connected with, but the more and more I researched into it, the more and more I attended, it was something that I grew to be really passionate about and care about. And what I loved the most about it is not just the human rights aspect of it, but the fact that I had the opportunity to learn about myself again. So I built confidence up. I had the opportunity to lead a team of about 20 people. I've spoken in the United Nations sessions a couple of times I've attended. I've held an exhibition and hosted a parliament in the UK. I've had some really, really high level profile introductions. I've met a number of MPs across the business, and it brought me out. It gave me the confidence to think I can be what I want to be, and the only person that's stopping me achieve is myself.
That's interesting. So that's another mix then. You got the different mix, and then this all helped. I'm sure that the human rights work would have helped you in the CSR work,
Definitely.
as well as the ethical tourism or those kind of parts.
They all feed together, and it's about understanding different cultures and the respect that you give to other societies. So human rights, charity, volunteering, the environment, it is all kind of under the umbrella of CSR, and it's about respecting other people, other resources, other land rights.
So when you say ethical tourism or the whole responsibility of corporations, so because as consumers or as travelers, we look at like the cheap deals, like you say, what's the best deal, but also we expect the tour operators to be conscious about looking and not exploiting any part of it. So how do you actually go about this? How do you actually choose this destination? Do they really do that, or do they just just keep it normal?
That's a really good question, and it's one that a lot of people do come and ask the question. Is it about money? Is it about giving what the consumers want, or do we have a responsibility as a tour operator to deliver a product that people want, but making sure that we're not hurting the rest of the world in doing so? So there is a balance. The tour operator obviously is a commercial business. It has to look at the money side of it as well. So if there is a trend, if there is a demand, then obviously they are going to investigate into the feasibility of doing that. For example, Sri Lanka was a destination that we used to travel to, but obviously with all the conflicts there, the human rights violations, it stopped. It's something we don't look at. One of our competitor operators do, but there are warnings on various Sri Lankan human rights websites that will say, be very careful when you support these organisations, because they're actually owned by the government in some cases, and they will not give fair rights to the employers. Most of the hotels are private people's lands that have been sold on to government institutions.
So it's so awful lot of research goes on to this. So I guess the same with different parts of the world. They look at every aspect. So these researchers, do they rely on in-house teams, or do they rely on just news media? And how do they actually come to a conclusion? So before, for example, country X. So if the tour operator decides not to travel or organize anything in country X, what is the kind of procedure, or how do they actually make the judgment?
Well, the board level, very high level, will do VIP trips to the country. So they go to meet the tourism ministers there. They'll have conversations. They do a complete tour of the country. They'll have experts with them who understand it. And obviously at that high level, they are experts themselves in the industry. We also look at trends. So we do have a team that looks at what would be popular in 5 years' time. Where are the trends? What are people starting to enjoy? What are people looking at? What do people want from an experience when they go abroad? And we also have a team that is the immediate incidents response team. So they will look at where really serious issues are going on. So for example, Egypt is a massive destination for us. It brings in a lot of revenue, but obviously with all the problems in the Middle East, we had to stop flying there for a while.
So it's a combination of two. It's your team as well as outside news feeds, and
Yes.
I'm sure Foreign Office travel advice and everything
Of course.
feeds into it. So it's quite a lot of work. So your role specifically as a charity manager, looking at because in terms of finding out and supporting the right kind of charities and so on. So how does that work?
So at the moment we fundraise through our colleagues and customers about 1.5 million a year for various charities. We operate with 17,000 employees in the UK. And we're part of a bigger group that operates with 53,000 employees. Now they're based all over the world, so we will support charities in their local destinations as well as in the UK. We have a partnership charity that we've worked with for 25 years, but in addition to that, people also choose to support charities that fit, and there are various criteria that we have to make sure we abide to. As a commercial participator, we are governed by the Charities Act, so even though we are a commercial company, we still have to follow the rules as though we were a charity.
Right, okay, that's interesting to know. And also your background and your community work in the past would have helped on this, in these things. And also your legal background would have helped in judging or in working out. So let's move on. Let's try to move on to the key question here: the culture, identity. When I had, because we had a long conversation before this event, before this recording. In the previous conversation, you said nobody forced you to wear this pottu, especially the way a Tamil married woman will wear on the top. As well as the thali. So it's your choice. Can you explain a bit more about your choice and why you do that? I might be seen a bit critical, but I wanted to get it from you, so if you could actually say.
It's just something that I see as my identity. No one has forced me into doing it. No one has said that's the way a married woman should be. I still wear my thali every day when I go to work. I wear my metti on my toes. I still wear kungumam on my forehead. It's just who I decided I wanted to be, and it's part of what I think is my culture. It's not been forced on. No one else in my family does it. We didn't have any kind of traditional wedding in my families that I know of. Everything I've done, I've learned. So the way I got married, all the ceremonies and the rituals is something that I investigated what each and every part meant. And even the thali I got designed, every part of that, I had to understand why. Why do we have this? Why is the thali in this shape? Why is it made out of this material? Why do we have a screw? Why do we not have a hook? Every part of it, there's a reasoning behind it. And although, like our religion, through time it's become embedded. So there is a difference between culture and religion, but through time it's embedded and people do it because it feels right or that's what's happened. I followed it because I chose to. It's what I believe and it's what I feel is right for me.
The other question which I'm going to go into that you wanted to talk about it, so I don't have a hesitancy in asking. 12, 12, 12. 12, 12, 12. What is this?
So when I was about 10 or 11 years old, I decided I must get married on 12, 12, 12. So I've decided at that age it will happen. So I was absolutely adamant I was going to get married on this day. So
it's 12th of December
2012. So there isn't any friend or family or person in society that knows me that wouldn't have known that was my aim, because I made it my goal. That was something I wanted. And it came to about 2010 and I still hadn't found a mapla. And I was starting to worry, and I'd had the conversation with my parents, and my parents said, well, you still got time, go and look for someone. And I knew I was running out of time to make this dream happen. So I put out a list and criteria of what I wanted in a husband and gave it to all friends, family, everyone I knew, and said, if you find anyone of suitable criteria, to let me know. And a friend's brother came back and said that he thought he had a suitable friend. And actually when we first introduced, we didn't get on, we didn't click. But after a few conversations where the friend had played Cupid and not told each of us that we didn't like each other, we started to get to know each other, and it all grew from there. So it didn't actually happen on the 12th of 12th. We had a proper, very traditional Nichayadatham on the 12th of the 12th of the 12th at 12 o'clock. And then again, I was meant to get married on the 14th of July, and then woke up one morning and decided I don't want to wait as long, and changed my wedding date to the 12th of May. So last year, with 5 weeks to plan, I had my wedding.
So what is this 12, 12, 12? What actually made you to think like that? Is there any
I have
ritual?
absolutely no idea. That has been so ingrained. It became more than just something that would happen, but it was a goal. It was an ambition that I wanted to make happen. And so many people in the community have laughed at it over the years. And then when it happened, people were saying, my goodness, she actually made it come true, which means actually if you want something enough, you can actually make it happen. And I'm a true believer that if you want anything enough, there's nothing that will stop you achieving it.
That's the kind of stories we wanted to share with the wider public. And before we get to the conclusions, I have a couple of things to go through. One, when you were brought up or you were born in an area which is largely non-Tamils in the areas, I would say not many Tamils, only about 2 families. But you had this inspiration of language, and you can speak very good Tamil, and you had this inspiration, and you want to do a lot of cultural aspects and so on. What actually made you to do that, and what was that inspiration? Is it the parents, or is it you have decided, or what made you to do?
I just always had that inside me that I wanted it to be part of my future. If I didn't learn it, my next generation wouldn't have it. And because we were in a predominantly non-ethnic minority area, my parents from a very young age sent us to Tamil school, and whether we learnt, whether we did the subjects, whether we did or didn't, that wasn't it. It was about getting to know other Tamils and being within the culture. All of my friends that I met had all come from Sri Lanka quite recently and took Tamil for granted. It was something that was part of them. And I wanted it, I yearned to have that as part of me. So it was only probably when I was about 15, 16 years old that I spoke Tamil for the first time. Up until then, I couldn't speak a word of it. We didn't really speak it at home, and it was a real yearn in me that I had to learn it. And I did a GCSE in Tamil and passed, which shocks me today, but it is possible. And I actually gave an interview in Deepam in 2003, and that was the first time I'd spoken Tamil externally more than my friends and family. And people rang in at that time and said, actually, there's hope for me. If you have gone from not being able to speak a word of Tamil to being able to speak like this, then maybe I can learn. And that's the kind of inspiration I want to share with other people, that there is nothing that can stop you. People may laugh, and there's something that my dad told me when I was growing up, and that's really stuck with me, that when he was learning English when he first came to the country, people used to laugh at him and take the mick out of him, and all kinds of bullying went on. And he said that if I listened to them now, then I wouldn't be able to speak English the way I can today. And it's only because I can that I've gone up in the community. And he said it's the same for you, no matter who laughs at you, who takes that, you stick at it, because at the end of the day, you will have something that others won't.
I'm going to bring in something which you said earlier about the same way that people laugh at things, and also not only laugh at things, but there are more psychological things. Like, for example, it is common to talk about other children. Like, what I meant is that parents always compare their children.
Yeah.
Now, this is a criticism I have seen quite a lot, and you have very, very strong opinions about this. And this normally happens with Tamil households anyway. But can you actually share with us what's your opinion on?
My true belief is there is an issue. There is a massive age gap between the last generation and the next generation, and it is a stereotypical view and a perception, and probably there is a lot of truth in it, that parents tend to talk about other people's children and other people in the community doing this and doing that and all of that. And it is for a certain, and I think up to probably 22, 23 years old, I too felt, yeah, this happens, everyone's got an opinion, everyone has to be negative about something else. But stick with it, persevere. Once you get past it, you will grow out of it. And actually, I believe it's that push, it's that to prove to other people that actually I'm better than what they make me out to be, that gave me that extra motivation to think I can be better than all of this. People will always have something negative to say. And people have got an opinion about everything, but the only person you need to believe in is you. If you can do that, you're capable of anything.
I think that's a very good point to finish, but I wanted to come back once again because I want to ask you, because you went through difficult times, not once, not twice, many times, and different situations, and you got over it. Knowing you personally for a long time, I could see that how you got over it. So what would you like to share as the concluding remarks today that people watching here, like, difficult times in profession, difficult times in social life, health, and mainly finance and everything in general, but you got over it in a different way. How is it? Just the smile, or how did you actually get over it?
It's been difficult. There have been times where I've lost the way or not known the way, but what I've come to realize is life and happiness is what you make it. And through the hard way and through my experiences, I've realized that happiness is the journey, it's not the destination. And there's a quote that I've heard that I keep with me very closely, and at the difficult times, it's what gets me through. It's like a heart machine. If it's going up and down all the time, you're living. If you've got a straight line, you're dead. So you have to have the up and down to be living life. So if you're going to have a down, you will have an up. But if you walk past all of that and you are waiting for the happy times, you're letting your life pass, and that time will never come back again. So the last thing I'd like to leave with is the quote that life is not about letting the storm pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain.
It's about learning to dance in the rain. And also you said happiness is about just journey, and also happiness is about what you make of it. So these are the important quotes that we are leaving you today. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Conversation. Feel free to send us your feedback. We will continue. The conversation will continue. Thank you and goodbye. Thank you. Thank you.